Welcome back to episode 17, aowhodis podcast. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I got my co-hosts Table and Owen here. I'm really excited. Y'all saw the title and thumbnail. We had one commenter, okay?
Yeah.
Who originally commented that they wanted us to do our wedgie stories. And
That's right. We originally missed it on the first.
No, we didn't miss it. I responded.
That's right.
And I said, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And that was like 3 months ago.
We've been putting it off.
And it's been in the works. And then he followed up, which is better than what most salespeople do. And he said something. And then I'm like, it's in the works. And then he said one more time 5 days ago, ever do my question. I said it's coming out on the episode 17, which comes out on April 10th.
So
it's April 10th. It's episode 17th. Lena Lauren 6784. This is for you. Talk about your wedgie stories.
All right, so wedgie stories. You know, after I read the original comment that they had posted, I took a while to think. I'm like, man, have I ever gotten a wedgie? I feel like it'd probably be traumatizing enough to remember, right? So I spent some time and I thought I couldn't remember of a story where I had gotten a wedgie, and I wasn't a big bully when I was a kid, so I'd never given a wedgie.
Bro, that is the falsest statement ever. 5th grade,
All
bro.
right.
Except for that.
I wasn't that type of bully. The only big wedgie stories in my mind are like in shows, you know? Like in shows, you'll see somebody getting a big wedgie, like they'll hang them up on the pole.
That's what I'm saying,
of getting
bro.
a wedgie.
I feel like that never happens in real life.
The only wedgies that I've gotten are natural wedgies, if you've ever had those before.
Have one right now, bro.
Really? Well, yeah, I got these pairs of underwear for Christmas. It was these SpongeBob underwears, and I wasn't allowed to watch SpongeBob, so it was that was my 5th grade rebellious phase. I was wearing SpongeBob underwear, you know. But I just remember them specifically because every time I wore them, it would just give me the biggest wedgie. It would just bunch up in the back, you know, and that was just the worst. So whenever I think of wedgies, I immediately think of my SpongeBob underpants story, you know?
Yeah, bro. WIP, wedgie in progress.
Exactly. But you know what? My life's not over, so the wedgie the story in my life may not be over yet.
It might happen, bro.
What about you?
For me, I don't have any wedgie stories. I do have a pants story, though. I got pantsed once, bro. So we were running. So in my old school, like old elementary school before, like in a different state, then I moved and went to school with him. There was all outside. There basically was nothing inside except for the classrooms. And so there were little blocks of classrooms. And so the hallways were all outside. Crazy, I know.
That is crazy.
When it rained, bro, it was not a good day. And so we would be pre-class, like early in the morning, our parents would drop us off. We would all go to the field to play before class would start.
Right. Not
really sure how that worked, but that's what happened. And so we always had a game, me and my friends, who I don't talk to any of them anymore. We would run back to our dot, which is like the dot for each class. And so there was a dot painted on the blacktop. There was a dot for each class, and we lined up behind it. And so first to get there won. And now I was not very fast, but I was like average, you know what I mean? And so I wouldn't get there first, but I wouldn't get there last. And so I got there like midway through. And then this guy named Ryan, bro.
Ryan.
And he was allergic to the sun, apparently. And I'm okay with saying this because he probably wasn't named Ryan. I'm probably remember. He had to wear like sunglasses, and he was like allergic to the sun.
Oh, this was serious medical condition.
That's what I'm saying, bro. He never didn't have sunglasses on. And so he came up to me, and he was so upset that he wasn't first in line for this little stupid thing, which he's never is. He's freaking Ryan. Yeah. But he just came up behind me and tried to pants me, and he only got halfway before I pulled him back up, and then I went and pantsed him. No, I'm just kidding. And bro, you're never gonna believe what happened next. Nothing. That's the end of the story.
That's insane,
right?
So he technically pantsed you, right? He got about halfway down.
He got halfway down, bro, and I was so scared that people were gonna see my underwear, bro, because it was like some like Spider-Man stuff.
What grade was that?
4th. Probably,
okay.
3rd
See,
or 4th.
our pantsing phase didn't happen until like 7th or 8th grade.
What?
I think 6th, 7th, 8th grade for me was when all of that was happening the most. That was the times where you'd wear a belt to school, or like you'd have a drawstring pants seat, pull it as hard as you can, and, like get the rope all the way around you, so that people don't not pants you. Flag football was terrifying. Bro, I'll tell you that.
I played flag football once, and this guy ripped my shirt.
Really?
Like, yeah. He was aggressive with it, too. And he came up, he went for my flag, he got my shirt, and he freaking ripped it.
Flag football is no joke. That's the dodgeball of this day, I feel like. Because they banned dodgeball. That was the most physical contact or not physical contact, I guess.
Just
contact
confrontational
sport, right?
Yeah.
But nowadays it's flag football. That's the newest, the scariest
Technically
one in school.
non-contact, but you know.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved it. I loved the sports in school. I loved volleyball. That was one of my favorites. I loved basketball. That was a lot of fun. We used to do field hockey. That was kind of weird, but
Really?
I don't know. Well, it was field hockey, but not outside. It was in a gym, so I don't really know. Kind of gym hockey.
It was slippery basketball court hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Less than ideal.
Exactly. I did mind my own business in the locker rooms, though. I wasn't a kid for shenanigans in that aspect.
Me neither, bro. The locker room scared me, bro.
Really?
One wrong move and you get gained up on by like 6 dudes, and it's game over.
Yeah.
You have to mind your business.
So your locker room was chaotic then?
And when I went to middle school, when I actually went to public middle school.
Middle school was
not private school. There wasn't any.
Yeah, there was this kid that was known to be. He was one of those kids where he was really smart in book smarts wise. Like he'll answer all the questions and he likes to learn all that stuff, but he just can't do it socially. You know what I mean? He just makes the dumbest like common sense mistakes that you ever see. And so there's a couple stories about this guy, but on the first day of 6th grade, he walks into the women's locker room instead of the men's. And I don't understand how you even make that mistake. I don't think it was on purpose either, but that is just hilarious to me.
He's like, women?
Yeah.
That has men in the title. Let me go in there, bro.
Yeah, it's exactly
That's crazy.
And then in either 7th or 8th grade, he ended up falling in a toilet and getting stuck in the public school toilet.
Bro, how short do you have to be to be around in the toilet?
I mean, he was a good, like, maybe 5'3", 5'4" in 7th, 8th grade, which is
not bad.
Decent height in that age. And not just falling in the toilet, but how do you get stuck? How do you get stuck and you have to call a teacher? Like falling in the toilet, I'll admit that's embarrassing already. But how the hell
How did he call a teacher, with his phone or something?
No, he probably just waited until somebody came in there.
He's like, help. I wonder what that looked like.
What would you do?
Was his foot in the... Bro, I would have stayed silent. I would have just accepted my demise. I'm starving or drowning. I would have just accepted my demise.
That was so funny. I mean, what would you do if you were just trying to go to the bathroom before class and you're help, help?
He's like grasping for like, help.
Yeah.
Help.
Oh, God, that's disgusting.
That's insane,
don't want to imagine that.
Me neither.
Oh, poor kid.
I'm sorry. What was his name and address?
Yeah, I don't even remember. I won't shout him out. I'll let him live his peaceful life. He's probably gonna be a famous scientist one day, you know.
Bro, shoot, we're gonna be working for him, dude. Speaking of working and stuff, I was thinking about this. Well, so you know how we like decided to come to make a podcast?
Yeah.
And we're like really excited and super like, you know, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be show our personalities. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have fun. Apparently everybody's starting a podcast now.
Really?
Apparently everybody is, bro. Because every time I told this to 2 people ever, I've told that I'm doing a podcast, and both of them say, well, everybody's starting a podcast now, huh?
That's true.
Can you believe it? Because we decided before I knew that it was a stigma to start a podcast. And now apparently it's a stigma. Why is everybody starting a podcast, bro?
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, I know our reasons for it, but also
our reasons too.
Like within a month of my freshman year in college, I know like 3 different groups of friends that all met at college that started podcasts. You know what I mean? None of them made it past episode 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
It's just funny. I can still search them up on Spotify and see like the group of people.
Let's go 17. Episode 21 is going to be, we're in the top 1% of podcasts because 1% don't make it past 21.
1% of podcasts don't make it past 21.
I say that like every episode, bro. I'm so excited.
It keeps coming up closer and closer. That's why.
I'm pumped, bro. That's crazy, because I don't like telling people, because then they just think I'm like everybody else, but I am like everybody else, bro. Technically, you are until you're not, and I get, if I'm never not, then I always am.
Right, I just like the excuse to come here and talk, man. I feel like I don't get just an hour of
Me too.
Just straight degenerate talking.
It helps. Sometimes it's not degenerate talking. You know, we be talking about some cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I got a lot
with the least amount of knowledge about them.
Bro, freaking quantum computing was one of our last ones.
We did talk about quantum computing. That's so funny. I mean, we give like the most rudimentary introduction of these topics.
And then we're just like, we don't know anything.
Yeah.
Bro, but do you want to know? I want to talk about something that I do know.
What's that?
And I know this thoroughly, and I know this intimately. And I can say that with confidence. Chipotle, bro.
Oh, God.
I went to Chipotle the other day, and I'm wondering if you can relate to this experience. Let me pull my shorts up. I haven't worn shorts in a while, bro.
You're just asking to get wedgied.
Yeah, I know, bro. So I went to Chipotle around like 5:15, maybe 5:14. You know what I'm saying? I go in, and then why are you laughing?
This is the 5:14. Like, shut up. What is that?
And then I went, and there was like no line. And then there was a lady at the checkout. I'm like, bet, this is great, bro. This is great. And so I go, I'm like sitting there, and then there's one person, and then I see what she's ordering. And I see her bowl, and then next to it I see another bowl, and then next to it I see another bowl, and then next to it I see another bowl, and then next to that I see 2 burritos.
Gosh.
She's ordering for a family of 27, and I can only imagine the horror, the crime scene that I walked in, that I could have walked into but avoided. Like, I was so happy that I didn't walk in like 10 minutes earlier when she got there. And so it got me thinking. I was happier despite the fact that I got my food at the exact same time, I was happier that I didn't have to go through the experience of her having to sit through her doing her thing rather than not do that.
Yeah.
But the end result was exactly the same thing. I got my Chipotle at the same time.
Yeah, it's always the people that have the biggest orders that are the one right in front of you.
Can you believe that, bro? It's always like one person, and she's got like an order of 27. But I just thought that was interesting. Like, I don't know, you know? I kind of thought I was going somewhere with that, but like, it's about the journey, not the destination. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, even if it would have been the same time waiting for your bowl, it was good that you didn't have to wait. Basically,
that's what I'm saying.
That's the meta point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's got to be illegal, though. They got to like make that illegal. Like 2 bowls per person max.
You could do what Chick-fil-A did and make 2 lines, but then I still always end up picking the line with the person with the big order. Like I'm like, oh, this line has only 2 people. Like, let me go in this one.
Yeah.
And then all 5 of these people in my left line just all go past me while I'm waiting. Every single time. It's okay though. It's better than cooking at home. Well, it's actually probably not. It's probably better to cook at home.
Yeah, you be cooking?
I try to, yeah. I've been doing it more. Even though I've been living in my apartment for a couple of months now, I feel like only recently, after I re-signed for a whole nother year, I've recently gotten the feeling where I'm just like, like, let me settle down. This is my house. I don't need to keep going out for everything. I can cook here, actually start decorating for once, because I haven't even done that yet.
Yes, sir.
Still haven't done it yet, but I've got some ideas on the way. And just start living and acting like it's my home, and I'm not going to move in a couple months. Because that's kind of what the experience you get with the dorms at college is like. You're there, and then you're gone, and you don't really have too much time to, in relativity, you don't have too much time to settle in. But I guess when you start signing an apartment and living on your own, it's a little bit different. That's just my experience.
That's my experience, too. That's why I never decorated in the dorm, just because I'm going to leave in like a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you ever cook in the dorm? I mean, you have a kitchen?
I have a kitchen in my dorm. I don't cook in it, though. Ever.
Really?
Not once. I haven't touched it.
Interesting.
I've used the sink like once. I never used anything.
I mean, I guess your college has a dining hall. You just go there for most of your meals.
Yeah, but next semester I'm going to be in an apartment. I'm pumped for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be cooking up I'm going to be crafting some things.
Really? Do you still have the dining hall membership?
Probably not. Probably not when I have the apartment.
Interesting. I'm excited to see what you can cook. Send me recipes.
I know. I'm about to be crafting in the kitchen, bro. I have a couple of ideas already.
Pancakes, eggs.
Toast, bro.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm so excited.
Man, one day.
Yeah.
Well,
what you got? Bro, hey, I want you to hit me with your best podcast talk. Hit me with something spicy. Get me intellectually stimulated right now.
Intellectually stimulated. Okay.
Intellectually stimulate me.
This is a common question. I've heard this before, and I'm curious what your thoughts on it. If you had $1 million and you had to spend it in one day, you have one day, how would you spend it? You had to spend the whole thing, or none of it counts? And that's an older question. It's probably worth more now. It's probably like $5 million now.
Yeah,
we'll stick to $1 million.
I would say invest it in like the S&P or something, but dude, not right now, bro. Not right now.
I mean, if it's red, now is the time. Isn't it what Warren Buffett? He's just like buy what everybody's selling and sell when everybody's buying.
Maybe it is the time to buy. Actually, yeah, that's a good point.
Not financial advice.
Oh no, bro, we dodged a bullet there. Yeah. Holy crap! But my first thought was invest it, because I feel like. I was like, invest it in a business, but a day I wouldn't have enough time to like do anything.
Right.
I feel like just like
you'd have to find the business in one day.
If I throw it in like some sort of like index, like anything, then I mean, this is a loophole, but I just throw it in and I just take it out again,
Yeah,
and then I have
lame.
$1 million. You know what I mean?
Lame answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's your answer?
I don't know. First, let's see. I'd say if I had $1 million
I guess I should have done a funny answer.
and I had to spend it in a day, I'd probably first I would. I don't know if I guess setting some aside that's not allowed. You know what I mean? Like I was about to say set some aside.
I'll set 900 aside.
Yeah. But you know what? I'll invest a good 250K of it. I think that's a good.
It's a humble amount.
That should be enough, honestly, just to pay my rent for as long as I want to live there. I think you can. I don't know. It seems like enough. And that means I have $750,000 left to spend.
Okay, let's see it.
I would get in advance and I'd pay the rest of my college off. I'd talk to my college and be like, hey, listen, I have a lot of the cash and I would need to pay, you know what I mean? Don't ask me how I got it. And I'd pay off the rest of my college, and that's probably like, I don't know, 10 million, something? No, maybe.
Oh, wait, hold the phone.
4 years of college.
Oh, yeah, with inflation and everything.
Yeah, something like that.
And
Let's
10
just say
million.
like, what, 200, 250?
Oh, I just had a brilliant idea.
What's that?
You know how like they name buildings after people who like invest a bunch of money in the college? I would just invest all the money in the college, or not invest, just give it to the college, and then they name a building after me.
Yeah.
Imagine Alexander Dorm.
I don't know about all that.
What you mean, bro?
Alex, I would not feel safe.
I would feel so safe.
That's what most of my college buildings actually are.
Alexander?
Okay, no,
Oh,
Alexander.
okay, well.
I think we do have an Alexander Hall.
No way.
Yeah, can you believe that?
No.
But most of them are just donations from alumni.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Alexander Dorm Hall.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
How'd you get to that?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. It took a lot of research.
Yeah.
Speaking of research, you like that transition?
Yeah.
Speaking of research, bro, I've been using ChatGPT's deep research feature.
Oh yeah. What is it?
Huge. It thought about my inquiry for like 8 minutes.
Really?
And it was like the simplest thing too.
Interesting.
I asked it about for YouTube. I asked it like, what did I ask it, bro? Oh my goodness. I asked it if like repurposing like videos to shorts, like how that impacts like viewers or whatever. Clearly it didn't work because we don't really give you. But I had it deep research, and then it asked me before I go into the research, let me ask some clarifying questions. And it asked some clarifying questions, bro. Right, and then it researched for 8.5 minutes, and it came with it had everything cited, 22 sources, checked it was phenomenal. I was beyond impressed.
Mm-hmm. The biggest thing for me right there was the clarifying questions. That's so big.
That's huge,
I've been looking
dude.
for that for a while.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll ask the AI, like, listen, if you have questions, ask questions before you send the prompt, and that's so cool.
I think you only get a couple of deep researches. I think it was only 8 or something.
Oh, damn.
And I used 4. So
8 period?
No, I just saw the number 8.
Not.
So yeah, me too. But bro, it was super, the fact that it asked clarifying questions, the fact that it cited all its sources, which it usually does, it blew me away completely. Mm-hmm. And I had my answers answered, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been getting back on top, GPT.
Yeah? That's not what you said a podcast ago.
I know. Well, I said they've been slowly getting back on top. I still don't think they're on top right now, but I think at least their image generation is pretty huge.
That's been huge.
I mean, recently, haven't you seen all the Studio? You know Studio Ghibli?
Of course.
Yeah, the studio. It's a Japanese studio. They make animated films, and they have a very unique style of art. And they, I guess AI just recently, the new GPT model they've been really, really good at turning real life pictures into Studio Ghibli form. Mm-hmm. I did it actually a couple of my pictures too with my friends, and it's really, really good.
It's phenomenal.
But the main artist for Studio Ghibli, his name's Hayao Miyazaki. He ended up coming out, and he just completely hates all of the AI. He thinks it's completely wrong for society. Art should come from people. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. I mean,
is it art if it comes from AI, or is it just a cool looking image?
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't think it's art, and he doesn't think there's any meaning behind the art.
What do you think? I'll be more specific about the question. No, I won't. You get it. You understand, right? I feel like that's...
Yeah. It's a hard question. I mean, I think first off, it's just good to have transparency, as in, if you see an AI image, market, or if you're going to post an AI image,
really
market as
important
AI.
to me. That's really important.
And I do see his point in the fact that there's not as much meaning behind the art an AI made compared to somebody who actually, because AI doesn't inherently make meaning into things, but humans do. And so when humans make art, there's a certain inherent sense of meaning there that AI doesn't have. But also, AI is also just another futuristic way to express yourself through art. It can do things that it can allow you to do things that you may not have been able to do in art. And so I don't think that is not art. I think it's just a different expression of art. So it's very interesting. I kind of see both sides there. I don't think it's fully not art at all, but also I feel like, with a little bit more transparency, AI art could be really cool.
It makes me maybe not worried, but interested to see where the animation industry is going to go. Because right now, it's like traditional 2D and then like 3D animation. And 2D typically looks significantly better than 3D, at least from at least when I when I watch like an anime or something in that specific medium, like 2D animation, which is like traditionally what it is significantly better than 3D, and they only use 3D to like save time, or if it's like a really big asset, they'll make like a 3D model for it, like a car or something, you know what I mean, or like a big crowd of people, like where they could animate it, but it just takes so much time that they might as well just make it everything 3D, and so it makes me really like I feel like art coming from the person, like that's what makes the 2D animation look so good, is the human touch.
Right.
The fact that 3D looks like a little bit, like it looks too smooth, it looks too well defined, and you can tell by that it's 3D. And for a moving background in 2D, which is really hard to do, like moving like a city, redrawing a city every 3 or 4 frames or whatever it is, and like Yutaka Nakamura, who redraws his art like every single frame, like he animates in ones. It's insane, like the amount of effort that has to go into making it look consistent every time, and then it looks so good when you see the city like move through, and the inconsistencies make it look, in my opinion, this is opinion based, better, because you can tell that there was that human touch. And so can AI mimic those inconsistencies, and do those inconsistencies even mean anything anymore if they're doing it on purpose? The AI is doing it on purpose.
That's a very interesting question. I'm curious, though, if there's a bit of survivorship bias in that, as in, you notice that the 3D animations that are bad, but the ones that are good, you may not even notice that it's 3D animation.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like, for example, Pixar has been using 3D animation for, 20, 30 years now.
Well, they're, yeah, I was talking like a strictly 2D medium, but yeah.
Okay,
like in anime specifically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I mean,
like
I feel
Pixar,
like
the whole thing's 3D.
Only very recently have we been able to actually like incorporate 3D into something that's actually good. Like Jujutsu Kaisen's a good example of it. Chainsaw Man was okay. I feel like Chainsaw Man walked so Jujutsu Kaisen could run, But I think only in the past year or two have we been actually able to incorporate 3D into the art, so I agree with you on that.
So there's like How to Train Your Dragon is a good example.
Or
of
The Incredibles, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example, like 3D. Those are 3D mediums, and it's all 3D, and it looks great. For me, in my opinion, 3D looks bad or is very hard to make look good in a 2D space. Something that I see do it really well is Demon Slayer. Ufotable, I think is the studio. Yeah. They do a really, really good job at blending 2D and 3D assets to the point where like you can tell it's 3D, but like in a better way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, oh my goodness,
it's immersion. It's so good.
Dude, like the trees, bro. The way they
the way they handle depth in that is next level in my opinion.
Yeah. Ufotable can do all that stuff because they have all their major talents in house. Like people like Bone Studio, for example, who animates My Hero Academia, they have to get like outside talent to animate these high performing scenes, and also My Hero is like a strict 1 year every 2 core season, which is extremely hard to do. You look at anime like Seven Deadly Sins, that they had to do the same thing. Like Seven Deadly Sins and My Hero season 7 and 8 were under the same time constraints.
Wow.
It's strictly talent. From what I understand, it was strictly talent based, which is why My Hero was so much better than Seven Deadly Sins in terms of animation quality.
So just that can get inconsistent. They'll hire an outside talent. That's very interesting.
Yeah. I guess so, but I think everybody does. I think eFootball is like the only one that like doesn't do it. Like they have everybody in. That's why they can pump out such crazy projects so quickly because everybody's in house. You can just
I thought Mappa did something
down the hall,
too,
maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Mappa does Attack on Titan, right? Is one of the
they
bigger?
did Attack on Titan. They also did Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
But
Jujutsu had like 5 years to do their season, right?
Yeah, they did. I mean, Attack on Titan as well. They waited a long time.
So
and
of course it's gonna look
They only
better.
brought Attack on Titan. They only did the 4th season. And you can tell because there was a 4.5 year break in between. 3 and 4.
I mean, with that, it's like.
But they do so good.
It better look. It does, bro.
That's kind of they're more along the lines of Studio Ghibli, where they'll spend 20 or like 10 years making a movie, or maybe 5 years for Jujutsu Kaisen's case. But they'll spend all this time making it, and then they'll post it instead of being on that timeline.
It's hard to do though because all animators would like to do that, but like Invincible is a good example of like. Maybe it is now, but back in the earlier seasons, it just wasn't popular enough to be able to drive demand for years and years and years with no content.
Right.
They weren't capable, and I guess investors wouldn't allow them to like go 5 years to make the season look as good as possible. And My Hero is a good example of an anime that's really popular, but they still have to keep to this schedule, which is so detrimental to the animation. You see in season 7 specifically, My Hero's animation just suffered. They kind of managed to come back in season 8, or no, I'm sorry.
Was it
season
6?
Season 7 was the one that suffered. Season 8 was the one we just had. Is it season 9 that's going to be the newest one?
Yeah.
So yeah, which is why I'm curious to see where season 9 is, because they're not doing a movie and it's one core, so it's like 12 to 13 episodes, and they have I think about a year or a little more. I better pop off, bro.
Yeah.
My Hero better pop off for that.
It should. But yeah, I mean, there also are downsides to that too. Like Studio Ghibli and Mappa, those kind of studios, they have a lot of complaints of just very overworking their employees, and that's a bad problem.
Yeah.
Like it does produce the result, but if you don't set a timeline and an end date, and you're just trying to make it as perfect as possible, that causes problems. And I see that, but it also comes out with genuinely the like world changing like art. It's the top of the line, the best that it can get.
I know, dude.
They're the type of anime where you'll watch it and then you'll go to another random anime and you're just like, I can't even watch this. This isn't, the animation's horrible. They didn't put any effort into it. The only problem though is having to wait 5 years for a new season.
Bro, that's what I'm saying.
That sucks, man.
I know.
That sucks.
It's tough because the animation is so time consuming, and you can tell that they like really like most animators want to make a good thing. It's just whether they have the time constraints and the resources to do so.
Yeah.
It's all like I don't know, a resources game.
It's always a way to make it better, right?
Yeah. You know what I feel like has really good resources but never works?
What's that?
Sprinklers, bro.
What
Have
you
you
mean?
ever seen a sprinkler actually work ever in your life?
A sprinkler?
Yes, like the have you ever seen one actually work? I feel like
Normally
I always
it's spraying the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like I see it watering the concrete. You know what I mean? I have never seen a sprinkler actually work.
I mean, we don't use sprinklers at our house, but
I'm talking about like I'd be walking at college, bro.
Oh, you see them at
and
college?
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I see them like either they don't pop up, or either like going like this, or they're just spraying what does not need to be sprayed, bro.
You guys, I think, might need more of a sprinkler fund.
That's what I'm saying. Well, hold on, maybe we don't. If that increases tuition,
take it away from football.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm
not
saying.
going to happen.
Bro. That's what I'm saying.
They're just going to raise tuition before they take it away from football.
Yeah, I know.
Literal inflation just to keep the football schedule going.
That's what I'm saying. And our football team's so bad too.
Really?
Bro. So
ours
bad.
Ours is not great.
Yeah,
we
I
went
know.
like 2-8 or 2-9.
Yeah, I think we went something similar, bro.
It's messed up because we weren't even doing horrible before I came.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you piece of
and
crap.
It's funny, the same thing as high school. We weren't even doing that bad, and I pulled up, and we just started. Like our last season, we went 2-10 in football. 2-10. I mean, the coach quit, so he didn't have to get fired.
Really?
That's how bad it got.
That's
to,
insane.
And that's
Do coaches get
crazy.
fired if their team sucks?
I mean, eventually, yeah, because
If they
better
go-
team means more funding.
If they go 2-10 long enough, eventually they'll get fired.
The coaches, but we won 2 games.
Look at the positives. Look at the positives.
Exactly. The coach was nice. He just, I guess, couldn't coach. He used to teach this weight training class. I'm glad we had that as a school. That helped me get into the gym a lot. But he used to teach that
I
class.
remember you talking really highly about the weight training class. What was it like?
I mean, it was truly just, the gym that was normally for the athletes. It's not even that great of a gym, but, just our school gym. It would just be a class where you'd go in, you'd go to the board, you'd see or first you'd do, your stretches and everything. You'd see the board for the workout for the day. You'd do it. Because there are, maybe 15 barbells. Or what's the full rack? What's it called?
Full rack bars, bells?
Like the whole setup. Like this got the bench and the bar and the plates. And the pull-up thing.
I don't know what the full setup.
Just the full rack,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they had like 15 of those, and maybe like 45 people, so three people per. And then you just work out. It was awesome. I loved it. I mean, the teacher would just walk out of the class for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I could just do whatever I wanted. I mean, I'd work out. I actually wanted to work out, but if you didn't want to, you didn't have to. The teacher teaching was the least of his worries as a football coach. He had bigger things on his plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had other stressors.
It's funny. How did you get graded?
So either two things. One is a participation, which he wasn't there to actually see if you were participating or not. That's what I was saying. You get the choice to work out or not. And second is you get a couple of workouts. So either you do bench, squat, and deadlift, and also what's it called? Some other workout, and you take the maxes of that, and you see if your maxes improve over time. So that's how they grade you.
Gotcha.
But he would just kind of he'd be lenient with you on the grading. You know what I mean?
It was just an easy just fun. Basically PE.
Pretty much. I mean, I got to work out for free, and I got a free grade, so just cool. W. I took it again too.
Oh really? W's, pal.
Yeah.
W's. Speaking of school. I have a situation. Okay, so something happened to me is a strong word. Something occurred, and I was curious to get your opinion on it to see if I was in the right or the wrong.
Yeah.
So I was in philosophy class, literally burning my brains away, bro. When I tell you, bro, I won't say anything because I'm still taking this class, but and so this was like 2 weeks ago, and so the philosophy professor says the worst thing you want to hear when you haven't been paying attention.
What's that?
It's go talk to your neighbor about what we've been talking about. It's basically TLDR, what he has.
Yeah.
And so he said that, and I'm sitting alone because I do not want to talk to anybody. I just want to go, and I want to go to sleep when I get home, and it'll be fine because I was running on 2 hours. It was a whole thing. Oof. It's neither here nor there. But what is here is that I go to this guy in front of me. I'm like, yo, and he's like, yo, and I go, or he goes. He's like, dude, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I go, now this was a lie. Keep that in mind. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what we're talking about either. And then we could relate to the fact that we have no idea what we're talking about. But, which is why I kind of wish I guess saying this thing, I shouldn't have made the jokes earlier. I actually did understand what was happening in class. But I lied, and so sorry if you're here. But I lied and I said, hey, I actually don't understand. And so we could kind of build that rapport based on our lack of understanding. Nice. And we spent the time of him talking about, it was 5 minutes of while everyone else was probably, I don't know, I wasn't listening, talking about what the stuff was. We were talking about how we didn't know for 5 minutes. And he had another philosophy class that was a lot easier apparently. But and so I did a white lie to build rapport with this person. I'm curious your thoughts on if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or if I should because then it gets into stay true to who you are, you know what I mean? But to that level, does it really matter? I'm curious your thoughts.
That's a good question. I think that honestly, at the end of the day, that small of a white lie does not matter. I don't think it matters. I mean, when I say that, I mean I think there's probably better ways to do it. I'm not saying that it's the best way to do it. You could also just build rapport with him by just being charismatic in a different way. You didn't have to make the white lie. But I also think about scenarios where it's if people have trouble making friends, that's a great way to go out and make a friend, is that white lie. So it's not like it's an inherent bad thing, but I don't really think that it matters deep down. Now, if somebody does that often, then that may be more that person. That person may have a problem with lying, but I don't really think a white lie like that is that much of a problem, especially if it's something that you don't think is it's a small in-class activity that is going to end in a couple of minutes. It's you only said that to build rapport with this guy. I don't see the problem with it. Mm-hmm. I guess that's how I think about it. You know?
Because it got me thinking. Like after that conversation, it got me thinking so existentially. I was like, bro, I just lied to this guy's face.
The philosophy class got you thinking.
In philosophy, and I spent the rest of the class, and I wrote this down while I was in class for the podcast, thinking about like, bro, like, at what point am I just like, because something that's important to me that I don't think I've really nailed down yet is like, you don't want to compromise your integrity to build rapport with somebody, because in that way you're kind of like this is just like a micro example of a more macro thing, which is more like you're literally bending your life towards you're bending yourself to what they are. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Rather than staying firm in what you are. But I've seen on the opposite side of the spectrum, people are too firm and they're like, I'm right. Nobody else is right, no matter what. I have my opinions and I won't change under any circumstances or any stimulus, no matter what. And I think that is equally, if not worse, or if not, I don't know whether it's worse or bad, but it is bad. Like, and so it's like finding that balance. Where do you think you land on that? Like, are you more of a person who will listen and adapt, or are you more of a person who will stay firm in what you believe? And how do you feel about which one's which, and like which one's quote better, or if there's like a combination?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd say I'd lean a little bit more on the side of listening and adapting, but I'll be honest, I think a lot of people are too far on that side of the listening and adapting side. Okay. To be honest with you, I think I heard this on YouTube a long time ago, and it kind of changed a lot of how I think. Is you should be trying to be, not trying to, but it's almost good to be polarizing as a person, and what I mean by that is to have people that love you, you're going to have people that are also going to hate you, and that's okay. And so that sort of, those white lies, a lot of people use those sort of in situations to where they're trying to, like fit with their community, like fit in, and in your case it was trying to relate to him, like you're in Correct. A way fitting in your community, right? Yeah. And so people that end up trying not to have anybody hate them, they don't end up being a polarizing person, or like they don't end up being truly themselves, like trying to relate and adapt to your environment is going to end up not making you like stand out at all, and you're not, if you're non-polarizing of a person, then you're not going to be firm on your own beliefs, and you're going to be doing those white lies like that, And so I'd say that I'm probably a little bit on the side of listening and adapting, but I'm confident in my fact that, I have beliefs that I still stand firm on, and if people hate me because of those beliefs, I'm okay with that.
How do you think you got those beliefs? Like, because I have a fundamental belief, ironically, that we get our beliefs from our circumstances and our environment and how we respond to those circumstances and environment. And so it's going to be different for each person. Mm-hmm. So how do you think you got your beliefs?
I think I'd say it's probably all environment, because when I think about it, I don't feel like you're born with any set of beliefs, and if it only comes up past when you're born, it must be where you're at, your environment, and how you make choices in your environment. So my beliefs came, partly from what I've been told when I was younger, parents telling kids what to believe, that's a part of it, and that's a part of it with everybody. And I suppose, also just the choices that I've made throughout my life, ended up leading me to beliefs. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, at the end of the day, my belief system changes occasionally, I don't have set beliefs that are stuck forever. So, I've made my own beliefs through these environments as I've grown up, but like they change at the end of the day. So, I guess I'm still growing on that aspect.
It's interesting what you said earlier, that you don't think people are born with beliefs. Mm-hmm. You think they get them through circumstances. Is that fair is that a fair description of what you were saying?
Yeah.
So I was reading this study. I read it first in James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. And I think this is very interesting, just as just something to think about. They did a study where like newborn babies were all in a room, right? As you do, I guess. Like, I don't know. And then I don't know, whatever. Sure. And so they blasted a loud noise from the corner, and some babies looked, some babies turned away, and they tracked those babies throughout life, and the babies that looked towards the noise were more likely to be extroverted. The babies that looked away were more likely to be introverted. And so that led them to believe, and I think this is the general consensus across other observations, that people are born with some inherent traits, and you can either exacerbate, or whatever the opposite of exacerbate is, desacerbate or whatever, through experience. You know what I mean? I think it's very interesting. So it's like, I used to think, when I used to hear like, you should play to your strengths, I used to kind of reject that narrative, because I was like, I just make my own strengths. But I think to a degree, people are born with some strengths and weaknesses, and it makes more sense to accommodate for those strengths, so you already have a head start in whatever field. Like, some people are born more athletic than other people, for example, which is kind of pivoting from what we were talking about. And so they have a better likelihood, based on luck, to be better at sports. You know what I mean? And, you know, working hard is obviously a huge component, but, you know, it's just something to think about. That kind of was really interesting for me when I first read that study.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Especially, you know, I think that's athletics, they do have a very big like gap between, okay, this person has the genetics and this person doesn't, you know, like that's a good example of the black and white. But I honestly forgot I had a response to that, but I don't even remember what I was going to say to that. I mean, I agree with what you said, you know, as in those people. Well, okay, I actually remember what I was going to say now. So, okay, back to what I was going to say.
Hit me.
Yeah, so it's essentially, as I get older in life, you know, I realize, like, as a kid, you know, when I was like 16, 17, maybe a little bit younger than that, I thought, okay, every single thing about me, you know, I can change. I'm not this person, I'm not that person, everything I can change. And as I get older, I kind of realize that even though that I can change everything, it's, you know, you're not going to change everything. What do you want to spend your time getting better at? You know what I mean? And so I guess as I get older, you know, going back to what we were saying is, I realized that people kind of do have these set traits, and I have these set traits that I was essentially, you know, born with. Which ones do I want to focus on and get better, and which ones, you know, am I okay with leaving? I guess that's my main point. It was a little bit of a mental gymnastics to get there. But
I like that a lot. So do you think that people who are, you said that you can't change everything about yourself, and so you should optimize for the most important things, is basically what you were saying?
Or I think you can pretty much change everything about yourself, but it's what do you want to change, you know what I mean?
Do you think that's a time thing? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have enough,
right, it's about
like,
prioritizing.
we only live 76 years here on average.
Right.
So, or do you think it's like a born thing?
I think it's like a time thing. Like, you don't have all the time in the world to change every single thing that you want to change. So what are you going to prioritize your time on, you know? You know, I guess what the original conversation was that I ended up learning that from was when they were talking about people that kind of just, oh, I can't do this because I'm like this, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I can't go to the gym because I have this thing, you know what I mean? And actually, that may be a bad example because that's more chronic. But a lot of people make these excuses because they have this vision of themselves. And what my point is that you really can change pretty much everything about that, but you don't have all the time to change everything.
Like, so change fundamental beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, mental beliefs or things you think about yourself, you know?
I completely agree. Yeah, I think it's a really self-defeating mindset for people. And I think I do this subconsciously. So this is what I'm really struggling with right now. Or trying to think through is I'm thinking through like a belief system that I'm kind of developing of like front dimension and back dimensions of your brain.
Never heard of that.
Because I made it up.
Yeah.
So front dimension would be like what I'm saying right now. Like, I'm going to lose weight. This is a front dimension thing. I'm going to lose weight. Like, for example, like, you know, obviously only, but I'm going to lose weight. And back dimension would be, I kind of want that donut though. You know what I mean? And so you can front dimension, this is bad, while eating the donut, but the back dimension of your brain is still saying it's okay to eat the donut. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's like we kind of have two sides of your parts of your brain. I guess it's like another way to say it is like your conscious and subconscious mind. it's very easy to change your front dimension's brain's behavior. You can just say things, but it doesn't matter unless it affects your back dimension. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is that to change the back dimension of your brain, you have to change a fundamental belief about your circumstances or where you are or who you are as a person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that kind of correlates to what you were saying. It's kind of something I'm trying to work through too. I don't know if that's a perfectly like good analogy, but right now I haven't found any ways to kind of like disprove. Like, I think it's really beneficial to think of your brain in two sides. And this is not scientific even remotely, by the way. Let me just make that clear.
Split your brain
this is just how I'm thinking through like my thoughts. Right. For me as a 20-year-old. Front dimensions kind of doesn't matter at all. Like, you're just saying things to yourself. It doesn't matter. Like, changing the back dimension of your brain, I think, is the only thing you should be focusing on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the way you put that. Yeah, you kind of think of that as the prefrontal cortex, the front dimension. It's like scrolling TikTok and thinking to yourself, man, I shouldn't be doing this, and literally continuing to scroll.
So your back dimension is saying,
right.
like, your front dimension could be saying, it's not okay, this isn't
right.
okay.
Why
but
am I even doing this? I'm not even enjoying this.
Your back dimension is saying it's okay. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's all that actually matters, because that's what impacts behavior. Your front dimension really matter.
Much. That's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm. I'll change the subject, but I'm sweating through my shirt.
Bro, it's so hot. I swear, I pushed the buttons on the air conditioner and didn't do anything,
Are you
bro.
sure you did something?
I'm sorry, bro.
Because, man, I'm going to have to do the next one on wife beater.
Do you want me to go check?
No, you're good. Okay. You're good. It's just kind of funny to me.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hot.
I was hot
outside.
too, bro. It's hot. It's almost 90 today, bro.
Actually?
Can we pivot to Pollen real quick?
That's exactly what I was trying to do.
This Pollen is absolutely... You can go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay, this Pollen is absolutely insane.
It's kicking my butt.
Bro. Dude, I have to, like, every time... I have to, like, plan my like every time I go outside, I have to like change my clothes. I have to like, really? Yeah, like I leave the dorm in the morning and I just like don't come back until like the evening because I'd have to like change my clothes, take a shower and all that. Jeez. And then if I come back midday, I have to change my clothes and take a shower, bro, because the pollen, bro, it's rough. Worse than it's been in years, bro.
So for me, it's all my sinuses. Like, it just makes it so much snot.
Breathing for me is really bad as well. Yeah.
That happens to me sometimes, too. It's just sore throat. Mm-hmm. It's rough, man. I can't stand it. It's every year. Bro, I feel it's not every year, though. Section for it, too.
Yeah, dude, because I live on campus, so I have my car in, like, a parking garage on campus, and I go to the car, bro. My car is black. Yeah. It was green, dude. I like, bro, it was covered in pollen. Yeah. I didn't want to get in. I was like, I opened the door, I go like this, and I was like, no.
All in there. What even dictates like how much pollen is supposed to be out there? Because I feel like this year is a lot more pollen than last year.
Significantly more, yeah. I don't know. If you guys know what like dictates pollen, put a detailed description down below in the comments because I need to know this.
Let us know any pollen scientists out there.
Yeah, please, pollenists.
Pollenists.
I feel like pollenist is the right.
Yeah. Or would you think that would be? Do you think that would be a tree scientist or like a bee scientist?
There's probably two different types. You know what I'm saying?
Or do they work together?
Like it's like sociology and anthropology. Like there's just two different types.
Yeah.
I don't know if those are comparable.
They have like a feud together, you know.
Yeah.
They keep trying to claim pollen.
It's like I did this.
Yeah, because a bee releases it and then the plant takes it and then.
Yeah, I guess there's just a ton of bees this year. You know, they just be reproducing at an alarming rate.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I was watching that movie recently. Have you seen the Bee Movie?
Never heard of it.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, well, people understand what I mean. I was rewatching this movie, and essentially it's where, this bee, he's in the beehive, and he's just like, this sucks, I don't like being a bee. So he goes out and he somehow escapes the hive, and he goes and he somehow makes it to this person's house, and like he's a talking bee, and so the woman starts talking to him, and the woman like understands him and everything, and the guy hates the bee. And so he's sitting there. He ends up like breaking up with her. Spoiler alert.
Okay, well, you can't hold on. Well, you can't say spoiler alert after you say the spoiler.
I know. But either way, she's sitting there. She's yelling. She's just like, "This bee is so nice." Like he's understandable, but he's yelling at her. And I always thought he was the villain. But as I get older, I realized this man was perfectly sane. Like she was the insane person there. She's trying to sit there and try to like talk to the bee. I realized as I get older, the guy was totally right in this.
That's so interesting.
You gotta watch the movie.
You know what's interesting about that, and this is kind of pivoting from your original point about the B movie, is that, dude, I will rewatch movies about whatever romance or whatever from back in the day, and my opinions on the guy and girl dynamic are so different as I get older. Really? Cause I was watching one movie, I forget what it was called, but basically I was watching it with my sister. I forget what it was called. I think it was probably Descendants or something, bro. She'd be watching Disney movies,
Disney movie, yeah.
but it wasn't Descendants, but it was one of the movies where basically
Malevolent.
Basically, the girl was with a guy, and then Outer Banks.
bro, you threw me off with the Disney. You threw me off with that. That's a good show, though. Great show.
Show, bro. And so you know how spoiler alert. That's how you do it, bro. Take notes. In the first season, Sarah breaks up with her boyfriend and then goes and dates John B.
Yeah.
But bro, she low-key cheats on Topper after he low-key, he does stuff wrong after the fact, but before, she just cheated on Topper, met this random guy that she didn't know 24 hours earlier, completely gave it her, a year-long relationship with Topper or whatever it was, for this random dude.
Yeah.
And when I first initially watched that, whenever it originally came out, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I was like, yeah, Sarah, John B, yeah. But now I'm bro, I feel for Topper, bro.
Yeah.
That must have sucked. And it's just interesting how your perspective changes as you get older.
Yeah, I realize as I get older, they do a good job of turning the victim into a villain. He was really a victim. Poor guy.
And then he reacted, poorly, and then freaking, I think he blew up something.
Yeah, you gotta give him some
that's after they broke, you know what I mean?
Right. He's just trying to get his girl back.
Sarah was low-key the
villain.
Yeah.
Villainess.
In that story, at least.
I like John B, though. He's still shit.
As
I get older, he just gets it better and better.
I know, bro. What a hero. Mm-hmm. Love me some John B.
I like, what's his name? JT? RJ? JJ?
JJ, yeah.
JJ.
Just keep saying letters.
I knew it had a J in it, so,
JJ, yeah, I think he crashed out, for lack of a better term, burned a town or something in the latest season. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the show, bro, you can never be too careful.
No spoilers. I've been keeping up with the most part.
You haven't seen the
news
season? Yes, bro.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were watching it for the first time with your sister.
No, I know. I was rewatching
that's right. You said you watched it a while ago.
Yeah. If you were listening to the narrative.
I have to rewatch it.
There's a whole narrative from my point that I was trying to make. You're good. It's whatever.
I will rewatch it. I just finished rewatching JJK. So good.
I haven't seen it, bro.
You gotta watch it.
No, I just know it's really good animation.
Until season 3.
I like. So this might be a little bit of a controversial opinion, and so take it how you will. But I like waiting until a whole season of a thing is released and then siphon off a day to watch the entire thing. And for lack of a better term, bed raw, if you will, and just watch the entire thing in a single day. You know what I'm saying?
I absolutely do. That's what I did with Attack on Titan. I waited, and it was totally worth it.
That's why.
Maybe wait on Jujutsu Kaisen. I watched it, and I made the mistake.
Yeah,
I gotta wait.
Because
it's not a bad idea. That's what I normally do, actually.
My Hero, they do weekly uploads, kind of, pivoting it back to the beginning of the podcast. Nice little, if you reinforcing the
always comes back to My Hero.
But yeah, so if you they upload every week, and so I waited until the very end, which was so many months because they took breaks, and then I got spoiled by everything by the time I was done waiting.
Really?
And so I was like, all right, and then I still watched it. It was so great, bro. But
that's messed up. That's bro. I've gotten pretty good at avoiding spoilers online.
Really? It's just
I can catch it quick.
It's tough with
my problem is my roommates because they watch it too. So I can't.
Yeah, because you have a TV in your room that's always on.
I can't have them not talk about it for the whole time.
Guys, I'm gonna need you to stop talking for my Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've been watching Solo Leveling every week as it comes out, and I can't have them not be able to talk about it just because I'm not watching it. That's mean.
Mm-hmm. But I think if you guys have never tried that, I would definitely. At least once, maybe maybe when Stranger Things comes out, because I like the way Netflix does it. They release it all at the same time, or they've been cycling off doing that now. But they used to always release all 8 episodes or whatever the season at the same time.
I like that.
I loved that because I could just give it a couple days, like let me get a free day and just go from like freaking wake up early, like 6 a.m. to like 5 p.m. Just like crank it out.
I understand the story better when I do that.
Me
like
too,
I just
me too.
understand it
I
better.
I just enjoy it more too. Like I feel like I want more on the weekly episodes, and this is also interesting from like a scheduling perspective. It's a lot easier for me to siphon off a day in like advance than it is for me to siphon off like 50 to an hour to an hour and a half like every day.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is. I like watching. I like waiting for a show and then waiting till it's fully done and watching it. And it's very interesting seeing in between seasons like how much has changed with like either animation or like the age of the person. Like because when you binge watch the whole thing, you don't see the 6 month or a year break in between the seasons. So it's cool kind of seeing the differences in between the seasons.
Yeah, the animation's always interesting because animation's usually worse in like the second core later episodes, and then it usually picks back up on like the last episode.
Yeah.
Because
budget.
No, not because of budget, because of scheduling.
Really?
This is interesting when I found this out. Most anime actually have the same budget. Like Demon Slayer has the same budget as like everything else.
Really?
But the reason it looks better is because of what I was talking about earlier. They have everybody in-house, and so they can just output some crazy pieces super quickly because they don't have to go to... Like they just go down the hall and say, "Hey Susan, animate this." It's a Japanese name. "Hey Susan, animate this for me." And instead they have to call to freaking Guatemala and get Jake, Jake from Guatemala to do it. It's much quicker and it does cost less. But like most anime have the same. Like Jujutsu Kaisen probably had the same budget.
Very interesting.
Maybe a little bit more, but roughly like nothing significant compared to what they outputted. But it's because the animators had like 5 years to just dedicate to just murder their craft and just make it so good. And even Jujutsu Kaisen wasn't finished. Like if you actually watch like an anime review of it, you realize that a lot of the animation was not finished when they outputted it. It strictly comes down to schedule. It's not. From what I understand, it has very little to do with budget and everything to do with scheduling.
That's very interesting.
Like the reason movies look better than TV shows is because of scheduling and not budget, for the most part. Some movies do, except for Marvel.
Yeah.
Well, no, Marvel too, because you'll notice that Marvel's CGI significantly decreased as soon as they started to put out more projects, because they have to get out these like a year to animate or to make something like Captain America: Brave New World or like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is insane.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
And so honestly, the fact that we get such high level quality is insane to me. Like, and My Hero is a good example of like, My Hero Academia did a really impressive 8th season with the animation, despite the fact that they only had a year.
Yeah.
Like that isn't just like, they had the same time to animate that Seven Deadly Sins did. And they outputted a crazy movie on top of that. Like some of the best animation that anybody like.
I think a different studio, right?
No, it was it a different studio? From my understanding, it was some.
I may be wrong. Yeah.
From my understanding, it was similar animators, same studio. But Yutaka Nakamura, I think he did like a 4-minute sequence. He directed and I think he had like a bunch of high-level animators directing like the final 4-minute sequence of like some of the best animation ever seen in eyes, bro.
Really.
Oh my goodness.
Peak right now.
Peak, bro. They be cooking.
Yeah.
They be cooking.
That's interesting. That's so cool to me. It's hard to go back to older animations after the what's it called? Like going back to older anime after watching something like Jujutsu Kaisen or Demon Slayer.
It honestly is.
Well, see, the animation, it is a lot older, but I feel like you can tell the amount of time that they put into it. Like, there's a lot of smaller art things.
Yeah, because really cool. They didn't know it was an effective... My theory, this is probably wrong, is that they didn't know it was an effective... When animation first started, everything was top tier for the most part. Like, high-level productions looked like high-level productions. Right. Because they didn't know if it was a successful medium, so they had so much time, and they had to make it look as good as...
time to experiment.
And now that they know they can output all of these things, advertise all of these things, make more money on the bottom line, they're like, okay, let's just make these not look as good. And I think that's really, really unfortunate.
Yeah, that's capitalism for you.
I know, bro.
But that's crazy to me that anime have the same budget between animes.
For the most part, yeah.
Insane.
I mean, for the most part, yeah. From what I understand. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good note. Capitalism's a good note to end the podcast on.
It always comes back to capitalism.
How does it always Bro, thanks for watching, dude. Yeah. I feel like my personal opinion is that this one flowed really well. I think we went between topics really quickly. So let me know how y'all thought about this one. I think we did great, but we might have sucked. And if we did, let us know, because we want to be podcasters just like everybody else in the freaking world, apparently. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to subscribe. Any closing statements?
Stay safe, stay healthy.
Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
Bye. I like that. One. Yes, sir. Before we leave, let's get pictures of, like, higher quality pictures for the thumbnail.
Cool.
I actually remembered this time.
Yes, sir.
Big guy. Somehow.
Now you know. Now you know I'm putting this in at the end.
Exactly.
You're like, look at me go, guys. Look at all the work I'm putting in.
So funny. You gonna grab a picture of me real quick on that phone?
Uh-huh.